Hello and welcome back. So for what we are going to do in this video, we are going to use an interactive Python session. That is why I am hovering this terminal to bring your attention to it. So I'm going to start an interactive Python session in here, and I'm going to clear the screen so that we have enough screen real estate to do the demos that I want to show you. Okay. So we've been speaking about using a range of indices to select a sublist from a list, right? It also turns out that Python has an inbuilt function called range. And with range, you will be able to generate a list of numbers. It is not only useful for generating a list of numbers, it is what we will also use when we learn about looping or repetition. But I need to teach it here because we are learning about a list and there's a way we can convert a range into a list. Okay, so let me give you a simple exercise. How would you go about creating a list in Python that has the numbers 1 to 100? Well, for what you know up until now, it means manual labor. You basically have to create a list with a square bracket and enter the numbers 1 to 100, right? That is too much work. And that is what the range function does for us. So with the range function, you specify a start index and an end index, similar to how we do sublisting, slicing, sorry. So it's similar to how we specify the start index and the end index in slicing, but this is going to generate the numbers between that range for us. And once again, the start index is inclusive, the end index is one less than what you specify. So how do we call the range function? You just call range, you specify the start index. So I want numbers from 0 to 10, okay? If I do this and I press enter, whoa, weren't you expecting to see a list of numbers from 0 to 10? Indeed, that was our expectation. But in Python 3, some versions of Python 3 going, the range function doesn't return a list as you know it. So to be able to turn the range into an actual list, you need to invoke the list function that I showed you previously, where I taught you how to use the list function or the list constructor to change a tuple into a list. So we are going to do the same thing here. So instead of just calling range, I can call the list function and pass in whatever the range returns, okay? So over here, you can see that we have the numbers 0 to 9. And wait, weren't we expecting to see the numbers 0 to 10? Well, if that was your expectation, then it means you've been hearing me wrong up until this time. Because I said the range is inclusive as far as the start index is concerned, but exclusive as far as the end index is concerned. And like you learned about in the slicing videos, you see that it always stops one less than where you want it to be. And so if I ask you to generate numbers from 0 to 10, it will stop at one less than 10, which is 9. So if I wanted it to generate from 0 to 10 indeed, then what I have to do is to increase by 1 so that I get 0 to 10 instead of 0 to 9, okay? So why don't you do this quick exercise for me? And like always, I want you to pause and then you will try it on your own before you come back to see my solution. So the question is, how will you generate a list of numbers between 3 and 17? I want you to try that and then you can come back to see the solution. All right, so I'm going to show you the solution. We want to generate a range of numbers or a list of numbers from 3 to 17 inclusive, okay? So what I'm going to do is, instead of starting from 0, I'll start from 3. And instead of ending at 17, I'll end at 18 because it is inclusive of the start index and exclusive of the end index. So you can see that indeed we have the numbers from 3 to 17, okay? Great. All right, so one more thing I want to show you about the range function is that you can also specify a step size, the size of the increment, okay? So for all the calls that we have made to the range function, you can see that the numbers increase in differences of 1. So from 0 it goes to 1, from 1 it goes to 2. So the next number is always 1 plus the immediate previous number. What if we want the step size? Okay, so the step size here is the difference between, let me say, the absolute difference between two consecutive numbers. So 1 minus 0 is 1, 2 minus 1 is 1, 3 minus 2 is 1. So you can see that they both increase in differences of 1. Okay, what if you want that to be something more than 1? Let me show you an example. So if I generate numbers from 0 to 10, then you can supply a third argument or a third value that is going to be the step size. So if I say step size of 2, what I'm saying is I want the numbers from 0 to 10, but remember it is exclusive of it, and I want it to increase by 2 for every step. So if I do this, you can see that I get 0, 8, 4, 6, and 0, 2, 4, 6, and 8. And the reason it doesn't go to 9 is if it adds 2 to 8, that is 10, and it should be exclusive of the end index. That is why it is ending here. Okay, so if I do this, let's say 100, and I want it to increase in successions of let's say 15. Let's see what happens. So 0, 15, 30, 45, 60, 75, and 90, because if it adds 15 to it, then we are going into 105, and that is beyond what is expected. Okay, we can use the range function not only for positive indices, we can also use it for negative indices. Okay, so if I want to generate numbers from, let's say, negative 10 to positive 5, and I want it to increase by 1 all the time, this is going to end at positive 4, and I'm repeating myself because I want it to stick. So negative 10, negative 9, negative 8, next 7, next 6, next 5, 4, all the way to positive 4. So this we have done in the interactive section, but you should know that it also works when you use it in your code. And so you will be seeing me use this in subsequent videos, and I want you to know that we have already treated this and you understand it. So take all the time you need to understand it. Let's take a quick break, and I will see you in the next video where we start talking about how to change elements in a list, because we started off by saying that lists are mutable, and that is what makes it different from the tuple. So now we get to see how to do that. So let's take a quick break, and I will see you very soon.